Have you ever sworn that Pikachu has a black tip on its tail? Or the Monopoly man wears a monocle? Or the Nelson Mandela died in the 1980s? Well, none of that is true. And yet, millions of people around the world believe it. Welcome to the strange universe of misinformation that doesn't just live online, but in our brains. In today's episode of PR Unplugged, we're going to talk about when misinformation lives in our memory. I'm joined today by fact checker and journalist Induja Ragunathan. Currently, she serves as the editor at Yourstory Tamil. Beyond as an editor, she is also a certified media literacy trainer, and her commitment to truth and credibility has taken her to the United States, where she trained at the Poynter Institute of Disinformation and Ethics. But today, we're not going to talk about fake news. We are exploring misinformation and how it rewires our memories. It fascinates me that how an entire group of people can remember the same thing incorrectly, and it has a name. It's called the Mandela effect, right? So why do you think that our brains cling so strongly to the wrong details?
See, basically, our brain, we always think that people say that we have a photography memory and we can register whatever we see and all. But actually, brain plays a lot of things. Like, of course, it registers whatever we see, read, and everything. But at times, it fills the gap with some stories that also runs in our brains, right? So whenever I myself, if I'm going to go back and tell my experience today, I might add little bit of things that I wanted to, or probably it didn't happen at all. So that's how a brain works. So this is exactly why today we see that when we narrate something, or when we tell it to, we often say, when we pass on information from one person, and the last person would be telling a very different story at the end of the game. So it is similar to that. So when it keeps on passing from one person to the other, our brain adds little bit masala probably, because we are also exposed to so many things that we are reading probably a different view from a different thing about the same story. So we add it, we think that that has happened, or that has been told by wherever we read or we saw. So this is what happens, and that's why it's called Mandela effect. Like said, still people believe that he died in the prison and nobody knows the truth. And it is not only in that case, there are several examples, especially I would say why this the entire narrative started it was during COVID. So the entire world knows that what is fake news only during COVID, because everybody wanted to peddle whatever they want to. Everybody became doctors, everybody became researchers, scientists. So these are some of the, that's the time where people also started thinking that, oh, we should believe whatever we are getting. So when we see certain things more often, we think that that's the truth, even though it is not. So that is the exact Mandela effect that we are going through today, I think.
Oh, well said, ma'am. So there is also another twist in this, because pop culture, as we know, is filled with facts that aren't really facts, right? So, like, people sometimes they quote "Mirror, mirror on the wall" from Snow White, but the real quote is actually "Magic mirror on the wall."
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Is pop culture like is a playground that is harmless for misinformation, or is it something where people just they like to hear something, they hear, and even though they know it's not real, they just go with it?
So basically, I would say that not about just pop culture. Today's starting from the younger kids to the Gen Zs and the millennials. So it's more of the visual content that they consume, right? Compared to 90s kids or the boomers, however you want to call, because it's more visualized. So it's all the meme, it's the videos that register in their mind. Like you said, the Snow White's mirror on the wall. And today there is another viral picture of Mona Lisa, where she actually smiles. So which is not the truth. But when you see, like, probably after years, when that is a digital picture that is going to be viral, and people will forget the original. So people might think that she had a smile on her face. So this is where the entire narrative changes. So this might be a very trivial thing, or a very funny thing, or to just pass on. but actually it might change the history itself one day. Slowly everything gets interpreted in a very different way. Even before also, I would say that we used to hear mythological stories, which may or may not have happened, but it had been told several times in a different ways, and people interpret differently, right? Similarly, even facts might be changed. So I would say that it is okay, fine, you can have fun by passing on these memes and viral videos, but once your brain starts believing these smaller, not very serious content, it will also be tuned to believe the bigger ones, which you have actually has to think about it, right? So that is where you have to be very careful. So if you train your brain that okay, this is only the a funny or a satire or something like that, and not a fact that is taken inside, then I think that is where the slight gap is
Difference
there,
there.
difference is there. So again, there are a lot of video content that is also created by the during this pop culture era that we are living in, because everything is digital today. So and it cannot be erased. So that is another biggest threat that we are going to face in the future. Like I said, that is where we don't know whether they have the time to go back and read the history, or they're just going to stick out with what is there on the internet and believe it to be true. Yes, it can be dangerous, but of course you can have fun at times.
Yeah, true that. Like you previously mentioned about how our brain kind of fills in the gaps. Psychologists, they often say that false memories, they kind of feel the same as how the real ones feel, and that is usually because our brain kind of fills in the gaps with emotion and suggestions. So have you ever experienced something like this, where you convinced that something had happened, and you remembered it correctly, but then only to discover later on that that's not how it happened? How does it feel to have that you can't rely on your memories?
See, of course, today I was telling you, like today we don't even use our memory properly because we feel that everything is on the internet. So I don't need to remember the dates. I don't need to remember the time, everything. So if at all I even forget the names, I can go back and research. But before it was not that case. It will take a lot of time to go back to the library, search the books and find out. So today we don't want to spend much time. So we are not registering it in the memory. But yeah, of course, even I also tend to, like, I do a lot of training workshops on media literacy and fact checking. So when I'm continuously doing, I do give examples and play out videos, and sometimes I forget to play some videos, and I imagine that I've already played because I would have done in the last week's training. So then I would be discussing with them, and suddenly somebody will come and say we never saw the video. So it happens. See, everybody tend to like make this is kind of a mistake, because we are not taking that effort to remember anything. So that is where the people who are creating these misinformation are getting their fair share to play our minds. So that is the riskier part too. So and there are a lot of examples that you can think during COVID, like how they manipulated your brain, saying that drinking hot water will kill COVID.
Yeah.
And but what happened, why telling is, then back then we all believed that people tried out because they were desperate. But even now, that is somewhere registered in our memories, and we try out, right? Any virus comes, that we tend to do that, or we tend to avoid certain things because it was told. Whether it is fake or real, we don't know, but still it's
Just
in the
exists.
memory.
Yeah.
So this is the thing that is deep rooted in our minds. So once we register that as the truth, then it becomes the truth. So it is always better that you go back and read, give a lateral reading to whatever you have read or you have seen in the internet. So that gives a better clarity of mind.
Yeah, I mean, in digital media, when it comes to health, especially, we read about Hila Bhaskar as well, like one of those people. And during COVID, he came into this thing. Now that we have entered the digital world, misinformation spreads almost like how all these repeated memes that we see with catchy headlines and emotional tweets that seem true, but they're really not. We're just too used to it, or we have seen it so often, right? So do you think false memories and digital misinformation share the same psychological roots, like, repetition or social reinforcement, things like that has an emotional storytelling? And why do you think both are so convincing, though they are always or most of the times false?
See, basically, I would say that the entire fake news narrative comes from where they can play with the emotions. So that is where everybody is deep rooted with. The emotions can be different. It can be for fun. It can be for patriotic or anything. So everything, the beliefs, its system itself works that way, right? So emotions play a very, very strong role in this. So especially if you see, most of the misinformation will have a touch of some emotion in that. It can be something that can trigger others thing and tend to believe that it is true. Especially if you see that there used to be a message saying that Janagana Mana, our national anthem, was authorized by UNESCO as one of the best national anthem in the world. And even though it has been debunked, it keeps repeating every August 15th or every Republic Day, sometime or the other, because they know that people at that time will be patriotic, so they would share it. So the thing is, they know when to peddle these fake news again and again, and people will, in spite of knowing, they would share it, because somewhere we all feel that like probably FOMO, or probably they feel that if I don't share, I'm not a true Indian. So it comes with that tag, right? If you're not a true, if you're a true Indian, share it. Or if you're a true whatever, they would attach a message where it will trigger. Probably after a point, people have realized, but there are still people who thinks that oh my god, if I don't share, then it is not that, it is not me, so I should show my kind of patriotism or whatever it is. So even the scams, if you see, they would touch somewhere these kind of narratives in their message, so that people will really fall for it. So whenever, if you see, whenever there is a national calamity, they would say that a person, they would probably say that the government is asking for donation, and so you can contribute for the PM fund or a CM fund or some fund. So they would add these kind of narratives, and people feel that, oh, we should do it, this is our responsibility. So this is where our emotions are triggered. So, and that is the main idea of these people who create these misinformation and disinformation. And every time we fall for it, and that is their winning strategy. And it keeps repeating every year, and with every new things that is coming up. Even if you take globally, during election, there is used to be a message saying that Barack Obama has denied their they're supposed to take their pledge in schools. All the children would take their US constitution pledge. So there is a fake narrative saying that he's banning that. So it keeps coming every elections. So similarly, it is not just to India. So whenever politics has to play, they would peddle these kind of information, so that it triggers the emotion of people. So everything is deep rooted, and like you said, psychology plays a very, very important role. So every of us have some kind of bias. So bias is the main thing. Beyond emotion, it's the bias that we are all believing certain things, right? So everybody has, it can be a racial bias or a gender bias or a confirmation bias. So I might be liking one hero, and whatever best good news comes about him will be true for me, and whatever bad news comes about will be fake for me. So that is the bias I would have. And definitely I would attack if there is a very good information about my opponent actor. So this is how the brain, and immediately we would share it. So that is the psychology behind it. So always the biases plays in our mind, and I think it's very difficult for each one of us to set aside the bias before consuming each and every information. But that's what we have to do. That's what we are trying to educate people, and create that awareness that this is just not about facts, it's about your mind. So, and also you get into that filter bubble where you only get one side of the information always, because you want to believe what you see, right? So only that comes to you, or your timeline. So other side never comes to you. That's why we say that you're in a filter bubble. So it is time that people should come out of this bubble, go to the opposite views, and sit and read what has actually happened. Then you can assess what is the truth behind it. So this is the emotion behind it.
Like you mentioned about the biases, ma'am. So there was a study that was done in the 2024, late 2024, about the synthetic human memories, where there were people were showed AI edited pictures, and people recited the memories as if that happened in real life. So people who confidently recall the details from these manipulated images, they think that these are original memories, right? So have you seen any recent similar ones where these digital content like images, videos, or audios or anything like that, that didn't just misinform, but then that actively changed how people remember a real event?
Yeah. So there were a couple of examples that I can quote worldwide as well as in India. So if you remember, there used to be one viral picture of late Pope with a white puffer jacket, very cool one. It was actually an air image, but nobody could find it for a long time because it was so perfectly done, and people liked it. It's not that it got a very negative image or something. People liked it and they thought that it's a real image. Even until today, even though it has been debunked, they feel that why not? So it can be a very cool image. So these things, but it might play a very different shade to the whole narrative that has been said. And similarly, to coming to the local examples, if you take our Chennai floods, if you remember, so I think from 2015 to till 2024, the 2015's videos are still
Used in rotation, yeah.
rotation. They keep changing the text, or they slightly manipulate the video and change the area or whatever it is. And yeah, if you won't believe that even journalists believe it is a new video and they share it in our groups, which is a very unfortunate thing, because because they all think, because now they know that if there is a heavy rain, there will be flooding. So immediately we tend to believe. So when they show a Marina Beach of 2015 as 2023, they say, oh, okay, probably this is how it is today.
Yeah.
So it's etched in our memory. So this is exactly has happened. And even though we keep debunking it, we keep putting out the message, they keep sharing it because they think that, okay, anyhow, that is how it is going to look. I don't need to share today's video. The beach will be the same as 2015, but actually it is not the case. But they're creating panic among the people, but that they don't understand what is the psychology behind it. But this is how it has been. So several events like these, like if you take any air crash comes, they keep shuffling the old aircraft videos. When this Indigo thing happened, there were a lot of videos saying this is the video taken from a rooftop or something like that. So it keeps coming and people immediately believe because that's how they have made up in their mind and it's etched in them.
So everything that we have spoken earlier, everything comes under the fact that it is in Mandela effect, showing how misinformation isn't just always about the news that's planted by all these bad actors, but sometimes it's also how our brain, rewires the entire reality of what actually happened, because we're natural storytellers. Maybe the scariest part of misinformation is not just that it exists, but how easily we accept it and how it feels so familiar with what we already have seen so many times, right? And even our memories, they when they tend to be unreliable, what do we do to keep our selves more skeptical about it and more careful without skipping into paranoia or being just scared all the time? What do we do then?
See, yeah, I always tell when I train people in media literacy or fact checking. So it is the basic common sense. That is what we first need to apply. That's what is lagging because we don't have the time even to spend that second of a time to think. So because I think everybody has that instinct to find out, except for very few people when we are encountering a very well done deep fake. That is very difficult, of course. But most of the times we can easily find out by just applying our common sense, which is also apply a little bit of critical thinking to it. So whenever you get a message, what I say is just pause for a minute, just observe what is there in the entire video or the picture, and just think why it landed on my phone. So that is the first question you should ask. So whether it is a forward and why it has been forwarded many times, is there an agenda? So everything that today we have, except for the birthday wishes and other personal messages, everything that we get has an agenda. So once that is there in our mind, I think we'll be very clear that we should not forward it. So the only way to break this chain is pause for a minute, apply a little bit of common sense and do a critical thinking quickly why this has been there, and then forward if you think it is really true, or even before that you can go to other official official handles or websites to check whether that information is real. Even if you take colleges, whenever there is a holiday, this message used to come. Everybody wants a holiday, so we don't want it to be fake. So we keep forwarding. But but at the end of the day, you need to come to college, right? So you just go back and read, probably go to your website and check whether a holiday has been announced or the government has announced. So just take a minute, because everything is there in the internet only. I mean, you don't need to go somewhere to check or verify this, unless and until it has been a very well done, well played fake misinformation that has been created for a certain purpose. All these that we are getting in our phones are easily detectable, I think. So pause for a minute, apply critical thinking, verify. You can verify using Google reverse image search if you have. It's a very simple tool. Or go and do a lateral reading and then decide whether you want to forward it or not, or else keep it with yourself. There is not, nobody's going to beat you if you're not forwarding it, right? So this is the simple thing that one follows. You break the chain. Even if it is true, why do you need to forward it, right? So you don't need to feel the urge to forward anything. Then I think this itself is a simple way to tackle it. Rest of it, I think the fact checkers who are professionally there would handle it. You can't do it. You don't have the time, right? Yeah, that's why we say, if you don't have the time, please don't keep forwarding. You just leave it to them and just sit tight. That's enough. So that's a simple way to deal with this.
Misinformation isn't just the way we scroll through our posts, but also the way we remember it. The Mandela effect shows us how human beings are not just flawed storytellers, but it also doesn't mean we are powerless. If anything, it means that fact checking isn't just about the internet, but also fact checking ourselves time to time. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us in this curious journey. Your expertise in debunking misinformation has been remarkable, and your deep insights on this topic has helped us immensely.
Thank you so much for this wonderful, cool conversation, not making it so very, serious, but that's how you have to deal with these things at this digital age, I think. So thanks for this opportunity to the PR department of Stella Maris. Thank you once again.
Okay, ma'am. And to our listeners, next time you think you're sure about something, you remember, pause, verify, speak. Because in the war against misinformation, our memory also cannot be trusted. See you in our next episode.